Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Road America, to recap, the XPEL Grand Prix at Road America, to be specific, and we should have known. Alex Palou gets the win, and I kid you not, as I walked into the studio, and as you walked in just shortly after me, what song was playing but Red Solo Cup? Alex Palou in the Solo branded livery over the weekend gets his sixth win of the season. So that means we still have just 2 winners through 9 races now. And only Honda has won a race on the season. Go figure.
We should have known because neither of us picked Alex Palou to win, perhaps for the first time since early in the season.
And I remember saying, oh, you're not picking Alex Palou. And I decided against it because I'm like, surely this can't keep happening.
Well, after Penske swept the podium last year at Road America, you felt much like we did at Gateway that, okay, this is when Penske gets on track. They couldn't even get on the podium on last week at Road America with their best finish being, 12th? With Scott McLaughlin?
Scott McLaughlin was 12th.
So another terrible race weekend for Penske. We'll get to that and more, but congratulations to Alex Palou. And thankfully, he can put all of the effort that Fox was trying to put into any semblance of a championship race to bed. Because there wasn't one going into Road America, despite what people were trying to make us think. And hopefully now Alex Palou has put all that to bed. And now we can just focus on, guys getting race wins, which so far is just Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a 93-point lead, right, over Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, I mean, it was over last week. It was, 73 going in? This is over, people. It's over.
And unless Kirkwood's going to win, 3 races in a row, I just don't see this changing.
I mean, the problem was he won 2 races in a row, and then Alex Palou had 25th and 8th, and yeah, it closed the gap, but it was still 73 points. I mean, he wasn't even a full race within striking distance. It's over, people, and I hope Fox, and I think it's certain personalities too within Fox that have also been with NBC that try to push the championship narrative both on air and behind the scenes. It's just not there, people. It's not there. And hopefully Alex Palou and his Red Solo Cup livery finally put the kibosh on any championship talk.
Now just enjoy the races. Stop worrying about the championship. There are other great battles. Like they did finally figure out. Yes, they did finally figure out the leader circle thing as being
kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
A little bit for Fox to maybe highlight that a little bit would be enlightening. Would be nice.
I mean, we're not quite there yet, but once we get with 5 races to go, that's kind of where you highlight
battle
that.
than the top is.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year obviously as well.
Correct.
There are good storylines to dive into, but as we shift to our 3 things, I guess my number one takeaway is we're going through a heat wave right now, and Alex Palou continues to go on a heat wave with what he's done this year. It's truly unbelievable. Like we don't even know what to say anymore about it, right?
What is
there to say? It's so impressive. We've never seen anything the likes of this in our lifetime in IndyCar that I can think of. I mean, we've had dominant seasons, but this is to another level.
It's been absolutely incredible what he's been able to do, and what was fascinating about Road America was you knew he was there, but he never really emerged as the guy to win the race until late. And even with 10 laps to go, when talking to the pit crew and what Barry Wanzer was like, we didn't know we were good. This was going to come to us till 10 laps to go, because as other drivers had to peel off and get a quick splash, it came to be where Palou was that top guy that didn't. And that made all the difference. And for him to look, when you're good, you're good. And when you're good, you're lucky. and not saying this was a win based off luck, but just when the yellows fell and when Alex Palou pitted, basically saying this wasn't a strategy laid out in the first stint or the second stint or even the third stint. It just came to them based on circumstance. And a guy like Alex Palou is going to take advantage of every opportunity. And he once again did at Road America.
It's not like he took the lead from Louis Foster at the start of the race and checked out, which is, I think, what a lot of us expected to happen. And that simply did not happen.
And he only led 6 laps in this race. And there were the final 6 for Alex Palou. So win number 6, there's still a possibility to get to double digits, in my opinion, with the tracks coming up.
Think about what is coming up. I mean, you have Mid-Ohio. He's going to be the favorite there. Laguna Seca, same deal. Favorite there.
Portland, Toronto.
Yeah, Portland, definitely the favorite at that track. I mean, that's 3 road courses. Those are his best tracks.
Correct.
Let's not just say he can't win on any of the street or ovals either. I just think there's a possibility he gets to 10 wins. Do we see it? I don't think so, but there's a possibility. I mean, the number of races are running out, but this is... What's the most wins we've seen in a season? I mean, Newgard won, 5? What's
the last time somebody won 6?
Yeah, that's a great question.
In a season. The last time at going into Road America that 2 drivers had won each of the first 8 races was 1980, I believe. I heard on the broadcast.
Yes.
So, but you look at these tracks. I mean, you mentioned Portland. It was runner-up last year, won it the year before. You look at Mid-Ohio, was second last year, won it the year before, won at Laguna Seca last year. He's been runner-up at Iowa. He's been third at Iowa. He's been third at Nashville. These are over the last 2 years. He's been top 5 at Milwaukee. I mean, just you look at the schedule and you're saying there's no track that jumps out at you that says, ooh, that's a tough track for Alex Palou. Perhaps maybe Milwaukee, but everybody was trying to find themselves last year at Milwaukee. So definitely a possibility for him to get 10. And like we said a couple weeks ago when he was racking off those 3 straight wins, just win them all at this point because the championship's over. Like just go out there and really destroy everybody at this point. I have a tough time rooting against Alex Palou because I want to see him do something that is just generational in this series.
Well, and I did a quick search. Paul Tracy won 7 wins en route to a kart title in 2003. Then you go up to Al Jr., 8 in 1994 in that dominant Penske season. What did they win? 12 out of 14 races or something like that season. I mean, it was just dominant for the entire team in 94. And then Sebastian Bourdais, 8 wins in 2007. He had 7 in 2004 and also in 2006. So, and Michael Andretti, 8 wins in 91 en route to the kart title as well. So that kind of goes to show you the level that Palou is flirting with right now on the list. And obviously Mario and AJ. Once you win 8 and 9, you're up there. AJ had 10 in 64, 7 in 75. Al Sr., 10 in 70. And then Mario Andretti, 9 in 69. Obviously won the Indy 500, 8 in 66 and 67. So closing in on some pretty good company, Alex Palou.
He definitely is. And he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all.
Also, I did see, thanks to Hickey93 via Twitter with this tip, but there was consideration by Williams to sign Alex Palou last offseason. They did not decide to move forward with signing him, but there was at least interest there, and that to me is probably the last interest that he will have in F1. I just think it is what it is. It's unfortunate.
Do you think he gets, I don't even know, an FP1, but does he get a test? Does he get to drive an F1 car at some point?
I think he deserves the opportunity.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if he was a McLaren driver, probably would have already happened.
Yes.
Or would be imminent. The fact that he's not, and Ganassi and McLaren don't necessarily get along very well. I don't know if that opportunity is presented by McLaren. Maybe somebody else. I don't know.
Yes.
Could a Honda-powered team in Formula One maybe coax one of its teams to maybe put its poster boy in an F1 car for a test? I don't know.
I hope so, but yeah, I have my doubts. Also,
I mean, even if it's a TPC, I guess, test a previous car. I mean, if Brad Pitt can do it, why can't Alex Palou do it?
Also note for Alex Palou, his 50th career top 5 finish in just 90 starts.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. What's your first takeaway?
Well, let's talk about Santino Ferrucci.
Yes.
And a top 3 finish and a celebration that I can appreciate. Was the first throw like a water that he dropped? And then he was like, I don't need a water. I want a beer. And that's what he got. And chugged the Miller Lite there. Did he run out of fuel? Is that why he was over there on the?
Yes.
Well,
did you see after the race the row of cars just past pit lane who'd all run out of fuel?
Yeah, that's true. So now Santino Ferrucci, the last 4 races, starting with Indianapolis, 5th, 2nd, 5th, and 3rd. He's now 9th in the championship. He's tied with Colton Herta and has the tiebreaker via the better finish at Detroit with his 2nd place finish. He's only 6 behind Scott McLaughlin. There's some Marcus Armstrong's lurking there, just a point behind. But we keep talking about David Malukas, and for good reason. I get it that Penske's financing that ride. We talked about it before, but Santino Ferrucci, with every drive of this caliber, of which he's put 4 consecutive together, you have to think he's opening eyes around the paddock. And at this point, maybe, if he doesn't, at the very least, look at AJ Foyt Racing and say, man, they're consistently putting at least one driver every weekend that's pretty damn fast out there.
I'm going to say something wild, but it is true. At this point in the season, we're basically halfway. In fact, next week we'll do our mid-season grades for each team. AJ Foyt Racing is having a better season than Team Penske.
Well, yeah.
You can say that without a doubt. Like,
in
the
terms
numbers
of the
back it up.
Expectations? I mean, are you grading
the
on
results?
a curve?
No, I'm just saying results.
Sure.
They're having a better season.
And it's been really impressive. I mean, 2 runner-up finishes for Foyt, 1 each, Ferrucci and Malukas. And so, yes, it's been very impressive. You don't want to overreact, but did the relationship with Penske save AJ Foyt Racing? At least in terms of being competitive, it absolutely has. But I know Malukas is that guy that Penske is looking at as maybe next year, maybe the year after, sliding into a Penske seat. I'm not saying Ferrucci is Penske material, but at the same time, Ferrucci is outperforming his teammate so far this season. 10 points separate him, and it's just really impressive. And for a dude that came into the series with some baggage and didn't necessarily make a lot of friends early on in his IndyCar career, he's really cemented himself as a good quality IndyCar driver with a team that's not known to be very competitive. And I know a lot of the credit has to go to that Penske relationship, but we can't discount the fact that Santino Ferrucci is just playing fast and competitive week after week, race after race in a Foyt car.
And Foyt as a whole, I mean, you add in Malukas getting the 2nd place finish in the Indy 500. Obviously, he had that spin early and was able to rebound and get a top 10 finish at Road America, finishing in 7th. I mean, he's had his 4 best results of the season in the last 4 races as well, including, of course, the 2nd in the Indy 500. And let's not forget, Ferrucci had 25 points stocked, right?
True.
If he has those 25 points back on,
he's in 7th.
He's in 7th ahead of Power and McLaughlin, who are just ahead of him. Wild. It's wild.
It's really cool to see. I like Santino Ferrucci. I know some people don't. I know some drivers don't really like him, but I think some other ones have come around.
Will Power seems to be his biggest ally in the paddock.
I think he's just intense. I mean, here's the thing. If Will Power is intense on track, that's just Will Power. If Santino Ferrucci is intense on track, it's a problem, at least early on in their careers. But I think Ferrucci has gained the respect of his peers, and I think that's been reflected on how he drives and also how other drivers compete around him. And he's consistently beating some of these so-called bigger talents in the sport consistently. We saw it last year, and we said, man, if they could finish in the top 10 in points this year with Ferrucci, because they were 12th last year, I want to say.
I think he was
12th, or was he
top
10th?
10. Let's
Maybe he
double
was
check
right at the
that.
end at 10th.
Santino Ferrucci.
He was 9th last year. Yeah.
9th, yes.
So we felt, man, if you could get both of them in the top 10 this year, Ferrucci there right now, Malukas lurking, he's got some work to do, but really impressive with what Santino Ferrucci in particular has done, and it was really cool to see him having a great weekend at Road America, and it was just the latest in a string of really good weekends.
And another tidbit to add on, it was a career best road course finish for Ferrucci as well. And we talked about Malukas' lap one spin. I mean, that team as a whole, we kind of wondered start of the year, stuff just didn't seem to be off, right? But they've been clicking really since the Indy 500, and it's not let up since then. And Malukas probably feels like he let a win get away from him at Gateway a couple of weeks ago. So very impressive what they are doing.
Very much so. What's your number 2?
My number 2, let's talk about Team Penske. It was another dismal day for Penske at a track that we expected success. I mean, I think I said, let's wait. You have Gateway and you have Road America, 2 tracks that Penske should be really strong at. Well, we know how Gateway went. Crash after crash after crash. Or I guess McLaughlin had a mechanical issue, but they all finished in the 20s. And then you have Newgarden crashing out, spinning on his own. And then McLaughlin was 12th, just kind of shuffled back. Will Power, 14th. It's wild to me that we've gone through 2 tracks. We're halfway through. This is where they're at. And I think I'm doubling down on the turmoil behind the scenes, coupled with the fact that I think it's clear that Newgarden does not get along with the other drivers, or at least has separated himself. There seems to be a big distance between Power, McLaughlin, and Newgarden when it comes to just them relating to each other. So,
once again, I mean, another early exit from Newgarden, and once again, not wanting to talk to Fox, which I get it after a crazy crash at Gateway.
Yes.
But come on, dude.
Yes.
Everybody else stands there and answers the tough questions, whether it's from Fox, whether it's from IndyCar Radio. You can too.
Yes.
And that kind of bothers me.
I agree. Face the music, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were on top of the world the last couple of years, winning the Indy 500 back-to-back. You're having your worst season in IndyCar since what? You were a rookie?
Right.
And right now, the question is not about, is he going to finish top 10 in points? It's, he's going to, stay above the leader circle cut line, right?
I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, seriously, he's in 17th.
He's 17th, so he is with 137 points. He's a good 44 clear of the cut line. So, yeah, that's not going to happen, right? But
you never know.
One finish above 9th place. And here's the thing that annoys me about when, especially Marshall Pruitt talks about the cartoon anvil. Yeah, sometimes that happens. But you know what? Sometimes drivers are just bad. They go on a bad string, right? Or they don't execute, or the team doesn't execute. It's not always bad luck. And I think some people just don't want to, and I get it because we don't have to deal with the drivers on a weekly basis, so it's easier for us to say things. But Joseph Newgarden is not driving well.
He's not had a good season, I think he would tell you that.
There's been a couple opportunities where he's been there that bad luck has bit him for sure, but by and large, he hasn't been very competitive. And those things like Gateway happen, unfortunately. You're in the lead and you get taken out. Purely circumstance. But we're now 9 races into the season with one finish better than ninth, that's not all bad luck. That's A, problems behind the scenes, which you alluded to, and 2, just a driver that, quite frankly, has lost his edge in terms of this season. I'm not saying overall that his career has lost his edge. I'm just saying this year is not a good year for Joseph Newgarden. And it's not been a good year for Team Penske in general, but when one of your drivers through 9 races is 17th in points, there's something big time wrong with that.
Yes, and you kind of wonder if it's just become a mental thing in his head, so to speak, where you're pressing and then you're making mistakes because you're trying so hard to kind of correct the issues, and you're overcorrecting.
And I think this is a warranted conversation maybe for the off season, but when you look at the last 4 seasons for Joseph Newgarden, going from 2nd to 5th to 8th to now 17th in points, I know the 2 Indianapolis 500s are first and foremost. I get that. But as a championship contender, are the days of Joseph Newgarden competing for titles over?
Yes.
Ooh, really?
Yeah,
I
think we've talked about this before.
We have, but not, just the precipitous drop that we've seen in the last, in 2023, we're going, what's wrong with Joseph Newgarden? He finished 5th in championship. Last year was, what's wrong with Joseph Newgarden? He finished 8th in the championship. That's the same conversation we're going to have in the offseason. We go, well, what the hell's wrong with Joseph Newgarden? He finished, 17th in points. I don't know. And I think a lot of the focus has gone to willpower and maybe taken some of the pressure, at least the media pressure, off Joseph Newgarden with the debate on is it willpower or David Malukas next year for Team Penske. And that's kind of taken some of the spotlight off Joseph Newgarden's just absolutely terrible season. And if you look at it, the last time...
I can tell you right now, I know what you're about to say. The last time he won a road or street course race, you go back to Road America in 2022. He also won Long Beach that year as well.
Now, granted, he won back-to-back Indianapolis 500s. So
he went first in 2019, his second title, second in 20, second in 21, second in 22, and then he hasn't won a road or street course race since. Before that, he finished in the top 5. You got to go back to 2016 when he was 4th for several seasons. He was 7th in 2015. That was pre-Penske days for both those. Yeah, no, I think his time competing for a season-long championship is over. I know that's crazy, but...
I think it's fair.
Based on a trend. We're not going off one season, right? We're going off several seasons, and Alex Palou I think he's gotten in some of these guys' heads. I think he's gotten in Scott Dixon's head for sure. I think he's gotten in Newgarden's head.
Here's an interesting stat for you. Since the last drive, let's say for sake of argument, Joseph Newgarden finishes 15th or worse in the championship. The last driver to drive an entire season for Team Penske and finish worse than 15th in points was Andre Ribeiro in 1998.
I was going to say 98 because that was a disaster season with the Penske chassis. Mm-hmm.
And Al Unser Jr. It finished 11th that year. Year before he finished 13th. But yeah, Andre Ribeiro. That's what, close to 30 years, 27 years?
We are witnessing the worst Team Penske season since 98.
And not enough is being said by Joseph Newgarden being absolutely terrible. Yes, he's been bit by bad luck. Every driver gets bit by bad luck. And if he won at Gateway, we're probably not having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is he didn't. And he followed that unfortunate accident with another 25th place finish. He's had 4 finishes this year of 22nd or worse. Just an absolutely terrible season by Joseph Newgarden in particular, and Team Penske in general. Now, you don't have to go very far back to see the last time we were this deep into a season without a Team Penske win. That was 2021. They got the win at Mid-Ohio.
Power won the championship, right?
No, that was the year after.
Oh, that was
2022.
Palou's first. That's right.
So 2021, at Mid-Ohio, Joseph Newgarden won. there's your winner from Mid-Ohio.
Of course. Look, he's still a great driver. He's still a menace on the ovals. In fact, he's a favorite on pretty much any oval track IndyCar goes to, no matter what. But I just don't think he's at the top of his game. He can, even if he were at the top of his game, I don't think he can compete with the Palou. I really don't.
It's tough to argue if anybody can compete against Alex Palou right now, but in particular, Joseph Newgarden. All right, whose turn is it?
It's your turn. It's your number 2.
For my number 2, I kind of threw this driver a little under the bus, and I thought it was warranted. But let's talk about the weekend for Nolan Siegel.
Yes,
because this was a result that he desperately needed. Qualified mid-pack, 13th, and brought it home, 8th?
Yes,
I believe. And that was much needed. The highest finish for Nolan Siegel this season. Previous was 9th at Birmingham. And these are the results that he needs to consistently bring home for McLaren. I don't think we're looking at Nolan Siegel as a guy that's consistently or should be competing for wins right about now, but he should be top 10, top 15 most races. And that's been an issue at times this season. So Nolan Siegel, a good performance at Road America. We'll see if it can carry into the second half of the year. I think it's a very important stretch for Nolan Siegel. We've talked about his future and how it seems to be settled at McLaren for 2026. But these results, like an 8th place finish at Road America, help secure that and maybe his long-term future at McLaren.
And of note, Trackside Online pointing this out, his 8th place finish came despite an extra pit stop because he got sent with 3 primaries and then an alternate right rear tire.
How does that happen?
Yeah, right?
It different colors for a reason.
It kind of reminds me, I forget what year it was 2015 or 16, Marco Andretti got sent out with tires and they were on like the wrong side of the car after a pit stop in the Indy 500. So, that's not sure how that happens. But
gaffes are usually reserved for Andretti, right?
Seemingly, yes, but
no, it was a very good drive, like uneventful, and that's good for Nolan Siegel. I think uneventful is good. Uneventful, come home in the top 10, bring it home. I think those are the results that McLaren wants to see out of Nolan Siegel, and he got one at Road America.
And your slip up brings me to my third.
Yes.
Rinus VeeKay. Not 1, not 2. But 3 penalties for Rinus VeeKay on the day. Jumped the restart on lap 7, had to restart at the back. Then on lap 9, got service in the pit before green, got a drive-through. Then he had avoidable contact, had to yield a couple of positions. On lap 28, about halfway through the race, all that said, after a bad qualifying effort, started 22nd, finished 10th, another top 10 for Rinus VeeKay. As tough of a season as it has been for his rookie teammate and Jacob Abel, it has been a really good year that just continues to get better for Rinus VeeKay, who now you look at the point standings, he's 14th, which finishing 15th or better. I think that was my expectation. I thought he could maybe crack the top 10 if all goes well. And he's just 4 points behind Alexander Rossi. That's the benchmark. And 7 points ahead of Christian Rasmussen. So he's sandwiched between the ECR cars. That's my fascinating thing that I said I'd be watching all year, and it has lived up to the hype so far.
It's been really impressive what Rinus VeeKay has been able to do, considering we know the limitations of that team. And he's really been able to get some momentum for the last couple races. You felt like he was going to be a factor. The struggles at Indy for the entire team really set him back, I think, especially then coming back the week after and Detroit being what it was. But since then, 7th at Gateway, 10th at Road America. He's sitting 14th in points. And for a guy that, I don't know if you want to say unfairly, because nothing's unfair when it comes to racing, especially when money is involved, being cut loose by ECR, is finding a ride and really maximizing the opportunities with that ride. And I don't think anybody can not say that Rinus VeeKay has maximized the ability of that car. I mean, Indy was not his fault. It was a team fault. He just didn't have speed. But other than that, I mean, just 2 finishes Outside of the top 20 this year, Detroit and Indy, I mean, he has obviously more consistent finishes than Joseph Newgarden at this point. Maybe not a podium, but it's been very impressive. So considering what that team is up against and what Rinus VeeKay is up against, another great drive and very impressive for a guy that we knew deserved that ride, and we're glad he got it, and he's proven why he should have gotten it.
And you still have several ovals left, and, you know, who knows? He could maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat on strategy for a win. I mean, that's what Coin does, right? And because it's been the Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood show all season, which, I mean, that's what we're going to focus on. But as Trackside Online also pointed out, we've had 8 different pole winners in 9 races. So while it's been not competitive in terms of the 2 race winners, you've had McLaughlin, Award, Kirkwood, Palou, Schwartzman, Herta, Power, and Foster, now all pole winners on the year. What's your number 3?
Well, let's talk about Firestone and the tires, because
Yes.
I thought the tires delivered at Road America. And the challenges, and sometimes I don't think we appreciate the challenges that Firestone is up against, because yes, this is a very diverse series with road courses and street courses. Every street course is different, right? And then you go to short ovals, you go to super speedways or a super speedway. I know it's unique because we say, well, NASCAR's just I got a butt ton of 1.5 miles. Well, for Goodyear in NASCAR, they do the tires, right? Goodyear does the tires
Yes.
in NASCAR. I mean, what works at 1.5 miles is probably going to work at the other 7-8 1.5 miles, right? But Firestone is always seemingly chasing it with a smaller budget than what Goodyear has, is always chasing it to try to find the perfect tire for every condition at every race. And they're going to have off days. Look at Iowa last year, right? Earlier this season, lacking at some of the street courses and the road courses going in. But they came through for Road America. The fact that it was so hot actually helped the tire. But I think we need to appreciate Firestone a little bit more because limited testing. IndyCar goes to so many different tracks because what works at Road America isn't necessarily going to work at, Laguna Seca, which may not work at Barber, which may not work at Toronto, which may not work at St. Pete. It's constantly chasing it. And this is not in a series where the budget is unlimited or huge. And so if we're going to criticize Firestone when they get it wrong, we need to give them credit when they get it right. And what they brought to Road America was very, very good, very, very racy. I think we could have used a little bit more passing up front, but the midfield was really, really active all day long, and a lot of that has to do with Firestone. So they deserve some kudos.
Other notes on this race we didn't shout out, but Louis Foster getting the pole, his best finish of the season, finished 11th, bit of a disappointment obviously for him, but it was a stunning qualifying run by him, and he's had pace all year. I mean, he's had another Fast 6. He's advanced out of the first round of qualifying several times. So finally putting it together, getting a pole, you can see the talent that he has. Top 12s in half of the races, 2 Fast 6s, obviously a first pole, that coming on used softs. Very impressive performance for him and that team, who continues to show they have pace on road courses. It's just putting it together on race day. And for him as a rookie, I think that's maybe more tied to that. But I think I was most impressed that he held the lead on the start, especially in Road America where you're a sitting duck coming up the hill, right, going into the first turn. Yeah, absolutely. And it really closed the race for Rookie of the Year, too, with Robert Schwartzman finishing last with an issue. He crashed, right? He didn't have a mechanical. It was a crash. And then Louis Foster coming home 11th. So just 2 points separating those two, of which the Rookie of the Year race is going to come down to those two. But really, really good performance by Louis Foster, and maybe the secret was shaving the stash. Who knows? Yeah, it could be. You can gain a couple tenths apparently from shaving the upper lip, and it worked out for Louis Foster. TV ratings, not great. Road America, 781,000 viewers for Alex Palou's 6th win on the season. Down 10% from 2024, 863,000. Saw Will Power win on NBC. However, Fox says the audience peaked at 934,000 viewers in the run to the checkered flag from 3:30 to 3:45, which tells me the lead-in was terrible. If you're...
Yeah, I didn't know what the lead-in was.
I don't know either. Fox up 25% versus last year. I mean, yes, it's better be up at least 25%. That's the bare minimum.
Well, yeah, and we expect it to go up because this is usually the stretch where we get into a lot of what had been the last couple years.
USA Network.
USA and races like that. So I imagine it's going to go up here the rest of the season. But some people were saying a 50% jump for a year. I think it would be a miracle if you got to 40% at this point, even factoring in the network races as opposed to cable races.
And something that Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal did point out on Twitter is in Middle East coverage with stuff happening in Iran. The news networks averaged on cable, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and Newsmax averaged combined 4.2 million viewers, noon to 6 last Sunday Eastern time versus 1.86 million the prior year. That's obviously a massive jump, more than double. So obviously that's going to play a role. Look, there's always going to be something, right? And with TV ratings, I'm at the point where, of course, I want them to be better. And the Indy 500 and St. Pete felt like high points on the year, but all we can do is watch the race. If you don't have a Nielsen box, it doesn't matter anyway. So, I mean,
yeah,
if you're a fan, watch. That's all we can say.
Especially at this point of the season, I mean, we know what IndyCar is right now and what it isn't. So you're always hoping for over 1 million. And for a while there, we were getting over 1 million. Detroit and Gateway both delivered over 1 million coming out of Indy, which was a great. But what if you followed IndyCar for any amount of time, there are peaks to ratings and there's valleys to ratings, and we were due a valley. It's just how it goes.
And Road America is, I feel like it's a race that, one, I know I need to attend. Everyone says it's awesome. On TV, it's hard to follow, and it was especially hard to follow with all the strategies going on Sunday. I thought it was a very entertaining race. I thought this is one of the most entertaining Road America races I can recall since they came back. But I think it's hard to follow. And part of it is Fox wasn't giving us much info on all the different strategies at play. There's just a lot to shake out. I mean, we knew Dixon was on a miracle run and probably needed a caution lap or two to make it work. But beyond that, it was kind of hard to follow. But Alex Palou got it done. Felix Rosenqvist with the podium as well. That was his first podium for Meyershank Racing. You got to go back to 2022. Marcus Armstrong also fifth, so 2 cars in the top 5. And then more on-track passes for position at Road America than at Gateway. Pagoda Press sent us that.
I do think, coming back to TV rating a little bit, Road America, a great place to take in a race. Never been there, but by all indications, when you tune in, it doesn't have that wow factor that other races do, both on the IndyCar calendar, obviously Formula One and NASCAR. It's not like, whoa, this is a big deal, like a lot of street courses feel like. Well,
you can't see the crowd. They're hiding in the trees mostly, and it was brutally hot. But it was a big crowd. If you looked, you could see there were a lot of people.
It's not something where, unless you're attuned to what Road America is and stuff, you turn that on and you feel like this is a must-watch event. You just don't get that feeling. Then again, the lowest rating of the season so far, your second biggest event was Long Beach.
Yes.
So what the hell do we know?
Any other final thoughts on Road America for you?
No, I just... Road America is almost an event that we take for granted on the schedule. And you and I both remember when there was a time when Road America wasn't on the IndyCar schedule.
Yes.
And it has become really a steadfast mid-season event for IndyCar. Always loved Road America. And the fact that it delivered a really exciting race this year made it all the better. So really cool. Every year IndyCar goes to Road America. At some point we'll get up there, but just not a race that you first comes to mind when you talk about IndyCar and the flashiness and the flashy races, but it delivers every single year. And I imagine if I go to Road America, I will gain 5 pounds just from eating all of the food there, and hopefully I can work it off by walking around.
Oh, you'll need a golf cart. My understanding is it's a 4-mile road course.
I paid attention more to the because I kept seeing people like jogging and stuff. Like, is it like, do people go in and jog during the race? Because I saw golf carts, but I also saw people like in workout gear jogging on the side. Like, what is this? What is going on? But every different kind of person is there. But yeah, it's a really cool place, really cool track, and I look forward to it every season.
For sure. All right. If you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media, IndyCar Podcast, the handle on Instagram, also on Twitter/X, on Facebook, just search for New Track Record. You can email us your questions, comments, rants, concerns, what have you, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Xavier and others for their support. And as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Mailbag time. We start off with rate the race. How would you rate the XPEL Grand Prix at Road America?
I had it as an 8.
Okay.
For me, there was a lot of entertaining, differing strategies, a lot of passing in the midfield and the back, maybe not as much as I'd like to see up front. Didn't really know who was going to win down the stretch. While maybe there wasn't passes for the lead, there was drama up front with could such and such make it with fuel, and eventually turned into not a surprise winner, but maybe a winner that wasn't a dominant performer throughout the entire race. So I had it an 8. What about you?
I've been kind of going back and forth, 8.5, 9. I'll go 8.5. This was a very entertaining race, especially for Road America. This was the second best race of the season, in my opinion. I mean, obviously Gateway number 1 so far. Yeah. Road America number 2. I mean, this was very entertaining, in my opinion.
Back-to-back really entertaining races, right?
Got off to a slow start this year.
Finding our rhythm here.
Not great. Thermal. On track was great. Off track, a lot of issues. Long Beach is Long Beach. Barbara was just okay. Indy GP, meh. Indy 500, meh. Detroit was okay, I guess. You had some drama, but Gateway and Road America have been outstanding in my book.
Very
and
good.
Listeners, they were closer to your number. The average 7.9 for Rate the Race.
Both of us ranked it higher than the average.
Yeah. Well, there was a 1 dragging down the average.
A 1?
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Right?
Maybe a person that doesn't like Alex Palou, I guess.
Maybe. There are people, and this is something that's interesting when you look through the replies. They're rating it based on how their driver did.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're looking at the overall picture.
Take a greater view of the event than just that.
Yes, correct. Elsewhere, a lot of different entries on the mailbag for this week. So we dive in to what's been happening in the world of IndyCar. First off, Snarky Moose, S2000_Moose. Did anyone expect to see Palou in a Cup car this soon? That was funny. Play on the Solo Cup.
I got it.
Also, you had posted about, oval tracks, Texas, Chicagoland, Richmond, Kentucky, Kansas, Rockingham soon. I'll have or getting lights. Let's get a few of these on the schedule, even if IndyCar has to rent the track and promote.
I did stumble upon a video online of somebody getting onto the property of Kentucky Speedway.
No, Chicagoland.
Was it Chicagoland?
Yeah, no. Carson Hocevar, who's a Cup Series driver, has been posting. It does not look to be in great shape.
No.
But it also looks like with killing some weeds and just like finishing some space with some paint, like it would take care of it. But yes, it's a shame that's...
Yeah, unfortunate.
A couple of replies. IndyCar Card said it's laughable that it took this race for them to realize, talking about Gateway, people want ovals and night races, say it's a clown show there, but I'd hate to insult clowns like that. Brutal.
Well, we all got excited after Gateway. It's just one race.
Yes.
So let's not get crazy. And I think to a certain extent, we started feeding into the Kool-Aid. Hey, all these tracks have lights. Let's go. It's one race that delivered, but we need a series of these races. Let's get some good races at Iowa. Let's improve upon Nashville. Let's get Milwaukee going. Like, this is just one data point. We need to start building the data points, I feel, to get to a point where maybe this series becomes a little bit more intriguing to ovals. I think the easy excuse is, well, NASCAR isn't letting IndyCar go to any ovals. That's not true.
I think there aren't the fans to show up outside the Indy 500 and Gateway.
Take Homestead, for example. We'd love to see Homestead inserted into the schedule next April for the gap that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But here's the simple thing, guys. If Homestead was interested, if it thought it could make money on an IndyCar event, it would have an IndyCar event. Same thing for a lot of these different tracks. Pocono. We wonder what that is. Is it a track thing? Is it an IndyCar thing? Texas has outright said IndyCar has tried to go to Texas. Texas is like, nah, we're good. Texas isn't even thinking about hosting IndyCar again because it doesn't think it can make money. So what IndyCar fans need to do, and turned out great job at Gateway, is show out to Iowa, show out to Milwaukee, show out to Nashville, and build the existing ovals we have. And the racing has to be good too. And then go from there. But the reason why there's not many ovals on the IndyCar schedule isn't because of NASCAR, and it really isn't because of IndyCar. It's the tracks. They don't believe they can make money on IndyCar, pure and simple. And it's our job as fans to prove them different.
I also think it's IndyCar's job to offer more for fans in terms of entertainment beyond just an IndyCar race at an oval.
Yes.
I think that's another big factor. Is you can't just say, oh, we'll throw in a lights race. Okay, well, what else can you do, right? I mean, can you get stadium super trucks there? Can you add concerts, right? And they've tried different models, but you got to give them more than just an IndyCar race on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday night. That's not enough to draw beyond your diehard audience.
Don't discount the proximity of Gateway to a major metropolitan area.
Yes.
Okay, drawing at Iowa is a little bit different than drawing at Gateway. Drawing at Nashville is a little bit different than drawing Gateway.
Yeah, Gateway's close to downtown St. Louis compared to those other tracks, which, I mean, Nashville is, 45 minutes away roughly? And
right.
I'm not sure how far Des Moines is, 20, 30 minutes probably. But
that's a good 30 minutes, I feel, out of Des Moines. But, I mean, Milwaukee, I think, is the next comparative event like Gateway.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's not as big as St. Louis, I want to say, but the fact of the matter is it's close to a major metropolitan area.
Yes.
Iowa is not. Nashville is close-ish, but you're not shooting, skyline picks and arch picks, or whatever from those other places. So for sure. So I think that's a factor as well. We just need to keep showing up, I think, and with momentum at ovals, interest will build. It could be a very slow, gradual thing.
The flip side, 15 years ago, would you have expected Road America, which wasn't on the schedule at the time, Mid-Ohio, Barber Motorsports Park, to be some of the top 5 most attended and top events, so to speak, on the IndyCar schedule?
No, you wouldn't. I mean, Mid-Ohio, when I went, it was right before it really started.
Yeah, it really took off 2014, 15?
Yeah, I think I went 2010, maybe 2009.
I went in 11 or 12, and it wasn't as big then. And then I've gone a couple of times, 18, 19, maybe one other, I think 21. Maybe it was just 18, 19. It was a lot bigger by then, for sure.
Yeah, so you look at it in 2010, the schedule, and I'm kind of looking at this as a pretty balanced schedule, at least. I think.
Do they have 17 races?
It's 17 races. Start March 14th in Brazil, end October 2nd. So going a little bit deeper. And that was at Homestead. But you had Barber on the schedule where you thought, at that time,
that was the first race, right?
Yeah,
the second race.
I think so. How long is this going to last? But you have Kansas on there, you have Texas on there, Watkins Glen's on there, Edmonton.
I miss Edmonton.
I do too. And then you closed it out with Chicagoland, Kentucky, Motegi, Homestead.
Wow.
In 2010. So that was your 17 races. But every 2 weeks, every 1 to 2 weeks. Well, the biggest, and this was obviously filled, is May 1st you had Kansas, and then you had to wait till May 30th for Indy, which you'd have the GP now. But that kind of gives you an idea of what the schedule was 15 years ago, and maybe some tracks on the schedule back then that you felt they're not going to be around 2025, and maybe some you thought would be around. Oh, Chicagoland, Kentucky, they're going to be around forever, right? Well, no, that didn't happen.
Not so much.
Not so much. Kansas. At least Kansas still exists, I guess. But yeah, it's been wild, but a lot of change. But the ones that have stayed on the schedule or been added back, like Road America, it's great to have them.
A couple other thoughts on oval tracks. Lynn_IndyCar said, problem is no fans will show up. Just look how empty the seats are for NASCAR. Even NASCAR struggles at some of these tracks. And then Mini Triceratops, what a name, said Chicagoland would be great, but they just had Milwaukee, and that's also not far from Indy, good and bad. They want to risk cannibalizing the 2 Wisconsin races, possibly with Road America in the mile. Well, I think they're different crowds, so I think they've finally realized you don't need to worry about that, and rightfully so.
If you get a promoter that thinks they can promote it and get people to come, then that would be the key. Maybe all promoters think, no, we can't because of the 2 Wisconsin races. But I don't think that's holding a promoter back or a track at this point.
Elsewhere on the mailbag, and we didn't talk about this, and we'll maybe dive into more of the details on news and notes, but IndyCar confirming the new car will roll out in 2028. 85 to 100 pounds of weight reduction, 2.4-liter twin-turbo V6. Where have I heard that before?
Honda. And
a low-voltage hybrid. A lot of replies on this, and rightfully so. I jokingly said, new car coming 2028-ish. Poet Shevchenko said, Honda gets to use the 2.4-liter V6 that they designed and built for IndyCar after all. Yeah, that was the original plan, and then Chevy had issues and couldn't make it work. So they'll go back to that. I hope that's a good sign for Honda. Other news, or other comments, Hunter's Way 67 said, I think Toyota might be coming in. They're leaving NHRA. We'll have another interesting nugget on that in news and notes talking about Toyota. Jeremy from HBG said, let the complaining begin. Historic Hot Lap said, well, it's Groundhog Day again. Lynn_IndyCar sounds like Honda is staying and wondering if Toyota is returning. Be awesome to get Vassar and Sully back in IndyCar. Because _Race said, has this not been rolled out before? Well, it has. Mom2X over 2002 said, wasn't it supposed to be 2027 like a few weeks ago? It was.
Yeah, I must have missed that story.
And Tommy the Treat 01, 2.4-liter V6. Does this mean Honda will be sticking around in IndyCar after all? So many people picked up on this. And then Mini Triceratops said, if it means they're taking their time to cross their T's and dot their I's, I think the delay will be good. A new, better aero screen will help, plus the weight and balance change will be good. It must be as good or better than the current platform immediately. Now, it's got to be better than the current platform immediately in my book.
Here's the thing. It's one of two things with Honda. It's either, yes, they're in because of the 2.4-liter, of which Honda had one, and Chevy was either struggling or didn't want to. They wanted to stick with the 2.2.
Mm-hmm.
And the hybrid, because we've read and understand that Honda was the one pushing the hybrid.
Yes.
And there was discussions behind the scenes that if Honda's out, the hybrid's out. So to me, releasing the engine formula tells me A, Honda's in, or B, IndyCar is doing everything it possibly can to appease Honda to hopefully have them stay on.
Or, counterpoint, Honda leaves, Chevy leaves because they're upset that everything's bent toward Honda right now. I'm kidding. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so. Hopefully not. That'd be the next thing.
The original press release, and Indy 44 found this nugget, on the hybrid back in 2020, 2.4-liter twin turbocharged V6 hybrid power unit capable of producing more than 900 horsepower. Remember, fast and loud is what Jay Fry said for a while. Look, if they can check all those boxes right there, I think fans will be happy.
I don't know what... I'm not smart enough to even think about what this could potentially mean for Toyota. Again, Nathan Brown even today tweeted something out as of last week. He hadn't heard anything about any even prospective third OEMs. I have a hard time thinking this has anything to do with Toyota, but I have to think this is good news in terms of where Honda's at. But it's either they're in, and maybe, to your point, they announce it at their event at Mid-Ohio next week, or IndyCar is like, we're trying to give them everything they need or want to stick around. And it would be totally IndyCar's luck if Honda's like, yeah, okay, we'll stay. And Chevy's like, we don't like this. You're giving Honda everything. And then they bail. That would be totally IndyCar. But
it would.
We're hoping for the best and hoping that in the near future we have good news from Honda. I feel like that announcement of the engine formula was good news in terms of that happening, in terms of Honda staying.
I would agree. We shall see, because there's still so much to be figured out.
Yeah, anything can happen.
For sure. You had posted, at least we can put to bed the IndyCar Championship talk that IndyCar and Fox is trying to sell us last weekend. It's over. It's been over. Let's hope this leads to more risky moves on track with drivers having nothing to lose. A few replies. Jefferson Kern said, that's my feeling to the end of the season. Bad championship battle, but a lot of good races. Let's enjoy it. Run_Mark_run. Even with Palou only winning one of the last 8 races in 2024, I'm not there yet. A Palou win in Mid-Ohio might get me there. I think he's being sarcastic.
Everybody's always like, okay, if he wins the next race, then it's over.
Yeah.
Okay, if he wins the next, it's over, folks. It's
then Mini Triceratops said, at least the leader circle still has some intrigue they'll never mention or discuss on the broadcast. I think they will when we get to the last handful of races.
But I do think there's something to be said. Like if Alex Palou has this wrapped up, I feel he does, but even let's say 2 or 3 races down the road and it's clear that nobody's catching him, then you just throw really thinking about racing for points out the window, right? A lot of drivers are going to say, I don't have any chance at the championship anyway. I'm going to make this move that I otherwise wouldn't. And hopefully that leads to some entertaining races for us.
Yes. And some championship math for us, courtesy of Snarky Moose, S2000_Moose. Based on the average of the second place finishers for the last 3 17-race seasons, on the theory, the driver's champion needs to score 1 point more than the second place driver. Palou needs an average finish of 10th to clinch the title by exceeding 546. Kirkwood needs to average 4th place and have Palou average 10th place or less. Pato 3rd. Felix, Dixon, Lundgaard, Power, McLaughlin, Ferrucci 2nd. Hurta needs to win every race. So I think we can eliminate a lot of drivers.
Yeah, I think so.
It's Palou, or if Kirkwood can go on a tear, or Pato can go on a tear, and I just don't see that happening.
No, I mean, it not only do those guys need to win races, they can't have Alex Palou win races.
Yes.
And he's not cooperating right now.
And Mom2X over 2002 pointing this out. PSA for IndyCar fans that don't have Fox Sports, you can rewatch the races through the 500. That was all that was posted at the time. Free on Tubi.
Oh, really?
So did not know that.
Good. Do you watch stuff on Tubi?
No. I have the app, but I haven't really checked it out. I know there's a lot of stuff on there.
There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of bad stuff on Tubi too, like bad quality.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
You got to sift through, but there's some gems on there.
And we got the news: Thermal Club will not return to IndyCar next year. This was broken by KESQ, a TV station in the area. The Thermal Club owner, Tim Rogers, they hope to secure a title sponsor and host another race in the near future as soon as 2027, but will not be back. So now we know several things. Mexico City all but confirmed, which I had posted that. And then now it comes down to, when will this race be? Or what will IndyCar do to replace the gaps on the calendar? So Lynn_IndyCar points out, Mexico City most likely will be 4/12 of 2026. They need to find something for March 29th. Not, it'll be a 4-week break from Arlington to Mexico City. If no Mexico City, 5-week break from Arlington to Long Beach. Maybe an oval.
Maybe.
I mean, we talked about Homestead. That'd be ideal. I don't think that's on the radar. Texas, you can't really do because it'd be 2 weeks after Arlington. I think you see a shift in terms of Barber being moved. Could you move Laguna Seca? Nathan Brown pointing out the weather, probably not.
Yeah.
You can't really do Monterey then. Northern
it's not Southern California. It's not
Correct.
warm all the time.
Different climate. A lot of people mentioning Texas in terms of
I mean, even I tweeted out
the
and
solution.
You reminded me that Arlington is a couple weeks before. You're not going to want to piss off people at Arlington.
No.
So that's not going to happen. I think one thing we look at is with the World Cup next year and with the deal being IndyCar still has every race on Fox, are there a couple, one or two races that have to be moved from summer to somewhere else on the schedule? And that feels to me like, is Barber moved for 1 year up?
I can guarantee you this. Barber's not going to be in May next year. I think it'll be in April, and maybe they move it up to, because that used to be early April, right?
Correct.
And then they moved it back a couple of weeks. Maybe it's that March 29th date. It would work then.
Yeah, it's, I know it's still warmish down there.
Oh, no, it would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're like probably at 60s, maybe 70s. I mean, that's around the time when we go to Pensacola, so I go through Alabama, and it's pretty decent. But there aren't very many options in terms of moving other races up when you look at the schedule.
That's really
Road
the only
America,
one.
You can't. Gateway, no, not really. Mid-Ohio, no. Iowa, no. Toronto, no. Laguna Seca, maybe. Portland, no. Milwaukee, no. Nashville.
You're not moving Nashville.
Correct. So you have limited options. But I just keep thinking that IndyCar wouldn't turn away thermal for next year if it didn't already have a plan for that gap. I feel. Maybe I'm wrong.
I would agree. I think you're looking at Barber being moved up, whether that's going to be in late March or Easter's what, April 5th? Is that right? Next year?
I do believe, yeah.
And then Long Beach is April 19th. So maybe Barber's April 12th. Maybe it's March 29th. It's one of those dates.
Yeah. I think it can move up, 2-3 weeks. It was raced on May 4th this year, maybe moved up.
It used to always be in April, early April,
right.
Like that.
Yeah. And it could only be a 1 year thing. Maybe Laguna Seca is bumped up. Although Monterey is sketchy that time of year. You mentioned that. There's not a lot of options to move a race up.
Barber,
from the latter half of the
pre-COVID, Barber was April 7th in 2019. It's been in late April for several years before. It's been as early as April 1st in 2012. So they could make it that date. It probably wouldn't be ideal, and I don't know what other events they have going on.
Right.
That would also be against the NCAA tournament, most likely.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to... I've seen a couple people mention Gateway. I don't think that's the best plan for multiple reasons. The weather isn't guaranteed to be good, and we've messed around with Gateway enough. Just give Gateway the best possible date and keep it there for a while for them, because they've done so much, particularly the Bommarito Auto Group has done so much for IndyCar to make that race an initial success and now a resurgent race after what we saw this year. I just can't imagine giving them a mid-April date would make them happy.
No, that would be a disaster in terms of weather.
Right. So, yeah, the easy thing is, and we'd like an oval before Indy, even a short oval, but that doesn't make sense for Gateway whatsoever. So I don't know what the answer is. I just feel like IndyCar has an answer. It just hasn't revealed it yet. Or maybe it's content with, it doesn't bother me if there's like a 3-week gap somewhere.
I think we're going to see Barber moved up, whether it's March 29th or... Mexico City's probably going to be April 12th. It could be March 29th. I would think it would make sense if they can make it work to be March 29th. We know it's not going to be Easter Sunday.
Right. And then there
Palm Sunday before, it may not be that either.
Yeah, because there's I think it's just like a Mexican Catholic holiday.
Yes.
I don't think it's Palm Sunday, but maybe something else.
It is Palm Sunday.
Is it Palm Sunday?
The week before.
But it's like a big deal in Mexico.
There.
Like it's a big deal for Catholics, but it's a really big deal in Mexico for Mexican Catholics. So I don't know what it exactly looks like. I will be surprised if we have any bigger gaps than 3 weeks between races next year. Maybe that's just one gap instead of multiple.
Call me crazy, but I believe IndyCar will figure this out.
Are we putting
Whether
our
it's
confidence
Barber,
in the wrong organization?
Yeah, perhaps. I think Barber will be moved up. It's not going to be in May. I can guarantee you that. And I don't expect it to be in late April. Maybe you go Long Beach, and then you have an off week, and then you have the Indy test, the oval test at the end of April, and then you'd have another off week, and then the GP. I get that would be multiple weeks, but with the Indy oval test, I guess I don't really count that as, where you're completely off the radar.
Yeah.
That's the key for me. I would say that sort of counts as a race weekend. I get that it's usually a Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
But I'd be okay with that, where you're not completely off the radar. You had posted a poll. What would you rather have in the early spring of 2026? A thermal race to fill the gap. 72.4% of you voted for that, or no thermal race, have gap. 27.6%. Couple replies. Spencer Gorglio 1 said, if next year they had Mexico City and Arlington, add it till another better venue is added. 20 races, one every 2 weeks. I mean, that's the dream, right?
That's the dream, but it's not going to happen until these teams are making more money. The teams have told the series we cannot go over 17 races with our budgets currently.
RacerMac RTP1 said oval race at Homestead. That would be ideal.
That'd be ideal,
if they are
but
interested.
I just don't think Homestead's interested.
Brady BC3. Thermal is the second best road course race this year. Disappointed it's not back. Yeah, on track, yeah, it was great. Off track and other stuff, obviously a lot of issues. And CJ9 said, honestly, neither. The thermal race has been relatively boring the last few years. Not sure I can get my hopes up for a good race dashed again.
But I think a bad race is better than no race. And then that's kind of in my head. We lambasted thermal, but in my head, I'd rather have a race than no race, especially if it's a sizable gap, which makes me think that IndyCar has a plan.
Cleveland.
I know that sounds wild. Yeah, Cleveland. I know
Michigan.
It sounds wild, but IndyCar has a plan.
Yeah, Michigan would be awful anytime before June 1st.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, for us, you and I were discussing our 2026 prospective schedule, because when you look at Denver, people keep talking about getting to 18 and getting to 19. I don't think IndyCar is in a position right now to go over 17. So what falls off? And
St. Pete, Long Beach, Barber, IMSGP, Indy 500, Detroit, Gateway, Road America, Mid-Ohio, one Iowa race. There's 10. Toronto, Laguna Seca, Portland, Milwaukee, Nashville. That's 15. Then you add
Arlington
is 16. Mexico City 17. There's your schedule.
There's your schedule for next year. Dates pending. And then your 2027 schedule is everything the same except Portland's off and Denver's on. There you go.
Pretty simple. All right.
As of right now, who knows what happens. But, come back to it in a year and a half, see if we're right.
And we got an email submission from Josh. Cable and Justin, love the podcast. Both sound like guys I'd enjoy hanging out with. Have a question for the show. Well, we're flattered. I'm one of those sickos that enjoys watching the series formerly known as Indy Lights. Dennis Hauger has put together a really nice season, although Loki, is it Loki or Lockie? Is it
Lockie Hughes.
Lockie Hughes has started to turn up as of late. Hauger's definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the field. Where will he end up next year? Is there any room at the end at Andretti? If not, where could he go? Keep up the great work, by the way. Picked up a pack of IndyCar trading cards at a Target in Oklahoma last week. I was not disappointed.
Oh, glad you can find him in Oklahoma.
The Glenbrook Target here in Fort Wayne.
And that's over, too, because I went to the Jefferson Point Target.
Yeah.
And I was over there today because my son had taken him to driver's ed. So I was like, hey, I got a couple minutes before I have to be downtown to meet Caleb Hatch to record the podcast. I'm going to stop in. Plus, Noah wanted to look for those Hershey's Kisses, Cinnamon Toast Crunch Kisses.
Oh.
Yeah, he found those. They're pretty decent.
I didn't know those were a thing.
Oh, there's a thing.
Interesting.
I found those. But I struck out again. I don't understand. Like I told you, it's kind of annoying. Like we're supposed to be the epicenter, Indiana, of IndyCar, right? You just picked up, our writer Nick just picked him up in Oklahoma at his Target.
Yeah.
We can't get him in Fort Wayne, Indiana at our Target?
Maybe they're always sold out.
Yeah, that's the case. But anyway, sorry. What do we got? We're talking Indy Lights.
Is there room at the end at Andretti? It depends on Ericsson's contract situation. If his season continues the way it's going, I get that he, in theory, had a second place finish at Indy, but was disqualified. But like that's your highlight, where that result doesn't even count.
I mean, he's 21st in points right now. He has a single.
Could you imagine him missing the leader circle?
Yeah, I think he's in comfortable position right now, ish. But still, the fact that
the two premas are eliminated, and
you have the 2 coins
and one coin. The VK will be back in.
Correct.
With that entry, the 18. And then obviously Abel, I mean, is not going to make it. You can all but rule him out. And then you have
won.
Foster's, 22nd. Francesco is battling. Who else am I missing?
Juncos,
okay.
Yeah,
with Stingray.
So, with Stingray Robb. So, but I don't know how much money Dennis Hogger brings, but the fact that he is a multi-year talent in F3 and F2, very impressive. I mean, this isn't taking away from his dominance, but he's 22 years old. He has multiple years. He raced 2 years in F3 and 3 years in F2. He's doing exactly what he should be doing to the Indy Lights field. And yes, you throw in ovals and how this is the first time, but he's just been dominant in this season. It was kind of a midfielder in F2 and F3, but the experience he brings over in the seat, plus he's 22. I mean, that's an old rookie for Formula One at 22. But
I think Hogger could end up at Andretti. Depending on Ericsson's contract situation. Look, if Ericsson somehow misses leader circle, which I don't think is going to happen, I think he's gone from there.
Hogger is with Andretti in Lights, so it makes sense to promote from within.
And if not, it'll be like a Kirkwood situation where they farm him out to a team like they did with Foyt and Kirkwood in 22.
Right.
Look, they will make sure that Dennis Hogger stays in their program. I think they kind of regret letting Pato O'Ward get away, and there's another driver that got away who's having success, but I mean that's the most notable one. I mean they had Herta and O'Ward with that satellite team that obviously didn't work out, and then Herta got the ride, and O'Ward is kind of a journeyman for a year, and then found his footing at McLaren. But yeah, no, Dennis Hogger will remain with Andretti, whether it is driving for Andretti Global or a different team still under contract with Andretti and IndyCar, and then moving up to the Andretti team the following season. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, we don't know what the contract situation is with Marcus Ericsson, but when you look at Andretti Global, he's obviously the one that could be the odd man out if Dennis Hogger gets the call-up, of which he's well on his way to getting that. Alternate options for next year for him. A Juncos ride, maybe in the 77 if Stingray Robb's done. The problem is Stingray Robb brings a check. That's the only reason he's in that seat, to be honest. You look at Prema could always be. I mean, you look at, a Ray Hall. I mean, Devlin DeFrancesco, is he a guy that's back in the seat next year? So there are options elsewhere, but if he continues to deliver in the second half of the light season like he did in the first half, Hogger's going to be with Andretti next year.
Probably. And Lockie Hughes will end up somewhere as well. I'm not sure where. I mean, it depends on funding. I could see him at a Coin, for example. Yes, very true.
But, he's running it away with it similarly to what Alex Palou's doing. Lockie Hughes is 289 points. And Hogger's 28 in front of him, and the next closest is Kyle Collette with 247. He was the first guy to win a race in lights outside of Hogger and Hughes at Road America last week. So, yeah, I think Hogger will have plenty of suitors, but he doesn't get away from Andretti. Lockie Hughes depends on budget, and see what emerges for him.
All right, that wraps up a very full mailbag. We'll get to news and notes, kind of be more abbreviated since we covered some of the key topics. Just reiterating IndyCar's announcement for the new chassis to be unveiled in 2028. It'll be produced by Dallara once again. And then when it comes to some key elements, obviously suited for all the tracks IndyCar races on, super speedways, short ovals, street circuits, permanent road courses. It will have projected weight reduction of 85 to 100 pounds compared to the current chassis. The 2.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 internal combustion engine with more torque and power over the current engine formula. X-Track will continue to provide transmissions. A gearbox will have be 25 pounds lighter than the current unit. Will come in 2028. It will also share components with the future Indy Lights gearbox as well, so that will help. The low voltage hybrid engine technology will continue. Longer deployment, more horsepower gain, overall improved performance. PFC will be exclusive supplier of brake system components. And then the aero screen will be integrated. There'll be a new roll hoop as well. Ergonomic driver cockpit to improve seating position. That's interesting.
Ooh.
Renderings, more info, along with additional partners, will be announced at a later date. So we didn't really get anything beyond that, but all good stuff so far.
Will the attenuator be spec, or will you be able to adapt that to and develop it?
Another good question.
I had a certain team was wondering that.
Yes. A certain team reached out. And then we talked about Toyota. We said we'd get to it. Toyota has been welcomed as the first foundational partner for the IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington, March 13th through 15th of next year. Toyota GR Cup Series is going to be part of the lineup. Everyone went crazy when this news was announced. Nathan Brown at Indy Star said that series, the Toyota Series, they raced at IMS last fall during the Indy 8-hour weekend. Keanu Reeves participated. But Brown said, I've been told as recently as last weekend at Road America, there's been no new progress toward IndyCar landing an additional manufacturer.
Look, it can't hurt.
No.
But I don't think there's a direct line towards Toyota's investment.
Toyota is based in North Texas. Keep that in mind.
Yes. Now, I think it helps. I think every higher up and mover and shaker within Toyota should be invited to that race because it's a stone's throw from their HQ. But I don't think being an investor in this event, you can't draw a line towards Toyota wants to enter IndyCar.
No, you simply can't go that far. But look, it's not a bad thing, right?
Exactly.
Not a bad thing at all. A couple other notes for news and notes. We got their first ex-Team Penske employee hiring. Kyle Moyer, is moving on to McLaren. Now, he worked with Tony Kanaan at Andretti Green back in the day. Kyle Moyer, handpicked by Tony Kanaan. They won the 2004 IndyCar Championship at that team. Moyer was the team manager at the time at McLaren. He'll be the director of competition and work with Scott Harner, who's the director of race operations. Moyer will replace TK as the strategist for Nolan Siegel as well. So his start date coming up on Monday, June 30th. Something that was interesting is Jenna Fryer had this of the AP as far as the other two notable fired Team Penske employees. Kanaan says he'd be shocked if former managing director Ron Rzuski isn't held under a non-compete clause for some extended period of time. He also assumes Tim Cindric doesn't have interest in another IndyCar position. Tells me he just wants to watch his son Austin race and maybe take a break. Kanaan said he was frankly shocked Moyer was immediately available. So
yeah, we were tongue-in-cheek when these guys got released that everybody calling foul was going to be in line to hire these guys, and just so happens that has begun. Yes, and it is in a way surprising it did take this long. Yeah, that's true. After all, unless they had to wait. What do they call it? Farmer's leave or whatever? Yeah, gardener's leave. I know it was gardening leave. That's the F1 term. Yeah. A couple of notes I forgot from Road America. Louis Foster's chassis, same one that crashed at Gateway that was on the pole. Yeah. So that's impressive. Then another Rahal driver, Devlin DeFrancesco, gifted a bottle of bourbon to the cameraman that took a tumble while chasing down DeFrancesco along pit lane at Gateway a couple weeks ago. It made for a funny moment. It did. Glad to see everybody was finding the humor in it. And then back-to-back rookies on pole at Road America. You had Linus Lundqvist in 24 with Ganassi, obviously Louis Foster this year. And of note, Will Buxton had this stat: 2 rookie poles in the first 9 races of a season is rare. How rare? Last time was 1954. Joe
Sostilio was on pole at Langhorne. Fred Jiggs Peters on pole at Illinois State Fairgrounds. After Schwartzman the 500, Foster's pole makes it the first time in 71 years. So that's pretty wild.
It's been a while. I'm looking up the Illinois State Fairgrounds racetrack right now it was a 1 mile
dirt oval?
Clay oval.
There you go.
Still's there.
I believe
Springfield Mile.
Nice.
How about that? We're looking for an oval.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to race on dirt again. Prima hiring several positions. You can check out their site. Thanks to Louis Frank for pointing that out. Positions include competition manager, transport driver, race mechanic, IT technician, graphics, production and installation tech, and a gearbox technician as well. Bobby Rahal will be the grand marshal for the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. 40th anniversary of his first IndyCar win at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course next week, the anniversary. So
Sweet.
That's a good deal there. Alex Palou up for best driver in the ESPYs. You can vote for him. He's up against Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen of F1 and Joey Logano from NASCAR.
Did Logano win the championship last year?
I believe he did.
I don't even know.
Yeah, right. We don't follow NASCAR.
Yeah, we don't.
The latest on IndyCar and NASCAR court battles. Well, now IndyCar has filed motion in federal court in Indiana, this courtesy of Bob Pockris, to keep NASCAR from deposing Doug Bowles in the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit. Deposition was scheduled for this Friday. IndyCar argued it has provided 650 pages of documents. NASCAR is competitor, and deposing Bowles is burdensome and unnecessary. So hopefully that didn't go through, because that would have been today.
Yeah, it's just a lot of legal action going on that I just don't understand. So keep it in NASCAR.
Indy 44 found this clip on Armchair Expert, very popular podcast with Dax Shepard, actor. Brad Pitt discussing racing, and mentioned IndyCar, that he's following IndyCar as well. Yeah,
I think it was, what was it, a Gateway, where Will Buxton said he got to talk to Brad Pitt at the world premiere of F1. Will Buxton appears in the movie, and said he has been a recent convert to IndyCar, and Buxton, Pitt even told Buxton, don't tell me what happened at Gateway. He hadn't watched it yet.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty cool. And, so Joe Kosinski, who is the director of F1, also the director of Top Gun Maverick, that did exceptionally well, throwing around the idea, and they met up at one of the premieres this week, Tom Cruise from Days of Thunder,
Which Days of Thunder 2 is coming, right?
Now, well, it's been rumored.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been written
or
anything like that. That's discussing. It's been in discussion, and Joe Kosinski had the idea of, man, it'd be great to get these two guys as a kind of crossover with their two characters from Days of Thunder and F1. And our idea, and what an idea it is the two aging veterans that have triumphed in NASCAR and Formula One respectively. What say they join up and take on the biggest race in the world, the Indianapolis 500? I don't care what you call it. It can be Days of Thunder 2. It can be F1 Junior. I don't care. But come on. That sounds like an amazing movie. Let's do it. We'll be executive producers. One of us will fetch everything that Brad Pitt needs. The other one will fetch anything that Tom Cruise needs. And we'll be integral parts of the production.
I thought you were going to say we'd be stunt doubles for him.
Bro, the resemblance is uncanny.
Tom Cruise does his own stunts, though.
He does, yeah. Brad Pitt, he may not do all his own stunts, but he did drive around the 2023 McLaren F1 car around COTA earlier this week, which is kind of cool. But no, but for serious, if they're going to, in different worlds, one is in Cup and one is in F1, make an Indy 500 movie with the two. It'd be huge.
It would be huge, and look, IndyCar and the Indy 500 in particular, on the up and up for sure after the TV ratings for this year. And
these are people, and Joe Kosinski and the writers for F1. They're tapped into racing because the F1 movie starts with the IMSA race.
Yes,
at Daytona.
Porsche Motorsport involved.
Yeah, so they know racing enough to know what the big races are and racing series are. And they know that the Indianapolis 500 is as big as it is. I don't know who we need to talk to, but I think it's a brilliant idea. It will probably go nowhere, but we're at least throwing it out there.
Maybe we should get the rights to it.
Yeah, maybe we should write it on ourselves and sell it. That's what we should do.
Time to get script writing.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we'll start right after this podcast. I got to drop Noah off at work, and then we'll get started on the first draft.
And one other note, Valtteri Bottas posting, do we like this seat? And it's a video of him in a Cadillac SUV, I assume an Escalade, and just kind of pointing out the seat. Something, yeah. Now, Cadillac F1, if it's Bottas and Sergio Perez.
That would surprise me, but
it would surprise me as well, but that would be as good as you could get.
That's definitely the top two. Now, do they go one of those two and then a young driver, maybe the young American that I can't remember his name?
Jack Crawford?
Yes.
It's not going to be Colton Herta unless he starts ripping off big results. Remember, he's got to finish 4th in IndyCar championship to even get a super license.
Correct.
Which is not his fault. It's a stupid rule.
Stupid rule, but
it's stacked against IndyCar.
Yeah, but we'll see. I think they got to name their drivers soon, right?
I would hope. I mean, a lot of
February.
Testing. Yeah. With that, time for tweets of the week. 2 tweets to get to. First off, Nathan Brown said, we've got to get to where teams have enough tires to where practice doesn't go crickets for minutes and minutes on in after installs, particularly when you don't practice at all till 3:30 p.m. on day one of the race weekend. That is very true.
Well, but I'm also like, who's to blame? I don't want to blame. Maybe it's the podcast in which I defend Firestone, but Firestone will give you all the tires you want, but you have to pay for them. So
yeah, and IndyCar has tire allotments for each race weekend. So do they need another set?
It goes back to cost. They added a set this year, right? I mean, it goes back to cost. You're going to have to pay for those tires.
And remember, IndyCar teams revolted years ago when it was suggested of going to a different tire supplier, and costs, obviously are more expensive, but
I'm sure
Firestone's earned the trust of the teams, and rightfully so.
Right. I'm sure if the paddock said, hey, we'd like one more set of tires at these races, Firestone will make them, but your teams are also going to have to pay for them. So to me, it's kind of like, look inward. If you want more tires to be on track longer, tell your team owners, because the price is going to go up and they're going to have to pay.
And then the other tweet, there was a tweet went out called Million Podcasts, the top 30 IndyCar Series podcasts of 2025. We checked the list.
There's only 27 on the list, by the way.
Yeah, and multiple F1 podcasts, and we're not even on there, which was a slap in the face to us.
Yes, I think it was an AI-generated thing.
Yes, definitely had to be. Definitely had to be AI-generated.
In the algorithm, we got to be out there somewhere, right?
One would think our literal Twitter username is IndyCar Podcast. I mean, how
the second place one was F1 Podcast.
Yeah, how in the world could they screw that up? But,
I don't know.
And I chose that Twitter name, that Twitter handle, on purpose for that exact reason, that people would search IndyCar Podcast. Boom, we'd show up.
Brilliant.
But Alexander Rossi said, this is about as accurate as power rankings, taking a dig at the IndyCar on Fox power rankings coming out after every race.
Yeah, because Off Track was like in the teens or something.
Yeah, they're like 22nd maybe. I mean, they're top 5.
Yeah, I got to feel like any podcast with former and current drivers on it should be pretty well towards the top.
One would think. All right, time for a random split error driver of the week.
All right, I thought we did this guy, but I don't have him down, so we're doing him with going back to the 2000 season of the IRL and going with Nick Jansson from Sweden.
Who?
Nicholas Jansson. So he drove in the Indy Racing League in the 1999 and 2000 seasons with 4 starts in those seasons. In 1999, he got his first start at Vegas, finished 24th, did not start at Texas, and then in the 2000 season, did the Walt Disney World Raceway race, and then the following race at Phoenix, and that was it. His high finish was 12th at Walt Disney World. He raced for Blueprint Imke Racing, never heard of him, became Blueprint Racing in 2000, never heard of him, and then raced for Nine House Motorsports, never heard of him. So I don't know any of those teams, but he was at 4 race weekends, raced at 3 of them, and that was the Delphi Indy 200 at Walt Disney World where he got his best finish. He made 1 Busch Series start in Montreal in August of 2007. He started 8th, led 5 laps, and finished 12th for J. Robinson Racing. In 2009, he was hired by US F1 team owner Ken Anderson as a test driver for the fledgling American F1 Formula One team.
Yeah, you remember USF1? I hadn't heard that name in a long time. I saw that on there. I was shocked.
And it's funny because if you click on the blue, it takes you to the genome USF1. It's not. They don't even have a Wikipedia
page.
So yeah, that fledgling team that went nowhere. But after that, he got into sports car racing. So he's done a lot of the 24-hour of Le Mans. He has done European Le Mans. He has done WEC. He has done WeatherTech sports cars as recently as 2022. So
he raced with Patrick Dempsey's team in 2019 at Le Mans.
Yes, very, very impressive. So that was his most recent appearance at Le Mans, provided this Wikipedia page is updated. But still with us, still around, 57 years old, a native of Jönköping, Sweden. We should ask if Felix Rosenquist knows him. Nicholas Jansson, this week's Random Split Era Driver of the Week. Oh, and he had an FIA Gold license until 2015.
Ooh, gold.
Yeah, so something that Colton Herta could use.
With that will do it for Justin Kinney. I am Caleb Hatch. We'll be back next week for our IndyCar mid-season grades leading in to the Honda 200 at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Thanks for joining us on another edition of New Track Record Podcast.